What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Geek Boutique podcast. That's right, it is Halloween. Happy Halloween, everybody. At one time, this I think was my favorite holiday of all year. But you know what? Today, our podcast actually falls on Halloween night. So we said, you know what? Let's get dressed up. Let's talk about Halloween. Joining me, obviously, as always, my compadres. First of all, Mr. Negan. You busted any zombies today?
We are all Negan. I bust zombies every day. Actually, I got people for that. I don't have to do that anymore.
You don't even have to do that anymore.
It's all delegation at this point, man. There's a whole hierarchy. There's me, and then there's all those sorry shits under me. So that's exactly how it's supposed to be. But also joining us is a man who needs no introduction, mostly because I have no idea who the fuck it is. Anonymous.
I'm Legion. I do not forgive and I do not forget.
It sounds familiar.
It does.
Sounds vaguely familiar. I'm sure we're not going to have very many people in here today because anybody that's got kids is probably out trick-or-treating, or anybody that's handing out candy is handing out candy. We're just three middle-aged men with grown-ass kids who don't feel like answering the door tonight. So here we are talking to you guys about this very day. So right now there are 5 whole people that are watching us this week. That's going to get up a little bit higher, but
that's okay. That's okay. Listen,
the truth faithful.
The true
That's
faithful.
right.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
It's just me so far. It's only you so far talking, Nada. That's for sure. Yeah, it shows 5 viewers, and 3 of them are probably the 3 morons on this podcast right now.
Yeah, there you go. There
it
you
might
go.
very well be just be you and one silent partner, Nada.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. That's okay. It's Halloween.
It is.
It is.
Oh, there's Bob, and there is Red Moon Glassworks, our friend Stephanie. Hi, guys. I'm on my porch handing out candy. Perfect.
Nice.
What better way to hand out candy than with your geeks?
The chat is slow on my side for some reason tonight.
Well, that's
Happy
not
Halloween,
how we
Geeks. Why,
talk
thank you,
about them.
Bob. Yeah, I appreciate
No,
it.
no.
Happy Halloween to you too.
I mean, the chats are.
The chat is slow.
Jeff is seeing the messages before they come up on my end, which is kind of weird, but you know.
Do you see all 4 of them? 2 of them from Nada now. We're up to 6 kids.
They just came up now. Happy Halloween, y'all, from Allie.
Oh, see, I don't see that one. Funnily enough,
Apartment living, no candy to hand out. Too old and tired for church treat. What's going on church treat?
I don't know.
You know what's funny is I tried to turn off the lights and say we're just skipping it this year, and then my wife came home and she's like, "I found candy."
I guess we're not.
Okay, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Nope, the cars in the visitor parking, the external light is turned off, all the blinds are pulled. We don't get very many kids in our neighborhood anyway, so it's not that big a deal. But yeah, I knew I'd be doing this, and it wouldn't be fair to leave her to have to do it all. So here we are, kids.
Let's just say Curtis has been way more bumping when it comes to Halloween than it has these last couple of years.
Way more what?
Bumping. Like we used to have all sorts of houses that were like decorated to the max, and haunted houses and crazy costumes, and it was Curtis was the place to be for Halloween for a couple years, and now it's dead. Like nobody does anything anymore, and
Now, do you think a lot of that's because of COVID? Do you think COVID kind of killed the vibe for a couple of years because people couldn't go, and so now people were like, "Well, fuck it, we're not getting back into it now."
Yeah, I'm sure it has. I'm sure a lot of those people also, their kids have now grown out of Halloween, right? So
sure,
there's that whole other demographic that doesn't really do anything anymore because like us, their kids are teenagers or young adults that they don't really do anything either.
Yeah, no, that's
you know what else makes a big difference is on social media. People know, okay, this house is doing something cool, so they'll share where that area is, and now that's where.
And then everybody goes to that area. Yeah.
Right. So your neighborhood will be vacant, but which is fine. It's just like when we were kids, it's like that house has the full chocolate bars, right? I'm going.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the neighborhood we're going to.
And that house isn't handing out candy, so that house is getting all the toilet paper.
Yeah.
And soap.
For a couple years in a row, I mean, holy cow, our street was that street, right? Like,
well, frankly, it was because of pretty much us.
I mean, fair enough, but for us, Halloween has always been one of 2 things. It was either us getting into costume and going out with the kids. Not saying we haven't done it without the kids. We have. I'll be honest. We have gotten in our predators and gone out creeping at Halloween with no kids. Or we were at home, and then we decorate Rob's garage mainly, do something crazy in Rob's garage, and then, like I said, we were the house, right, where everybody on social media is like, "Oh, go to this place," and so Halloween was always pretty big here in Curtis. So it's sad that there's not much going on anymore, or maybe
well, I mean, it sounds like you guys are kind of contributing to the not much going on anymore. Like, I don't know why it's falling right off. We don't do anything anymore.
I'm like, sorry, I got to do a podcast. I can't do anything fun.
Yes, we got the podcast. I'd love to help. I really would, but I can't. We got the podcast and everything else.
No,
So
but even
Andre,
last year, right?
Happy Halloween, y'all. Yeah.
Like last year, I tried to do a little something, and you know, I had all of 5 kids. I bought a bunch of candy that I ended up eating myself, you know? So, I mean, not that I'm complaining, because, you know me.
Let's say that's shameful next day where you're
yeah, I mean, you know.
Can't Geek Games. My kids are fully grown, so I took my new puppy out in costume this year. There you go. Lovely. That's wonderful. Yes, we are here today to talk about Halloween in general. We're going to talk about some of the, you know, the origins of the holiday and such. We're going to, you know, Wikipedia and Chat GPT the shit out of this and try to give you guys some background on why today kids are dressing up and going out and getting candy from grown-ass adults, and why a lot of the rest of us are going to go out tomorrow morning and buy all the cheap discounted candy we can find. And why we dress up, and, you know, why everything, I guess, why this whole thing has blown up so huge. Like you're saying, Curtis isn't much as far as Halloween goes, but good God, Martha, the entire month of October, my whole fucking feed is nothing but everybody telling me how much they love this holiday. Like Halloween is like the new pumpkin spice latte. It's like, it's the new Uggs. Like every person on my feed that, now, mind you, my feed is mostly full of cosplayers, and
I don't know that it's new, Jeff.
Cosplay.
I was gonna say, is that new?
Yeah, I don't think it's new. I mean, when I was looking at stats on Wikipedia, it's the second most commercialized, like it's like money wise, it's the second most commercialized holiday in the U.S.
Then maybe
more
it's
money.
Just me,
people spend more money on Halloween than any other holiday, except for Christmas.
I don't remember 30 years ago it being that big a deal. Like no one would tell you that Halloween was their favorite holiday.
No.
And now everybody will tell you that Halloween is their favorite holiday. Now, again, like I said, most of my feed is probably cosplayers, and we all know cosplay is the, you know, Halloween for most people is the gateway to cosplay, or Halloween's the gateway to cosplay. But holy hell.
You're getting oversaturated with it.
I dread October, and I'm not even on much. Like I don't like, as far as the social media goes, I'm not sitting there doom scrolling. But every time I open any of the apps, it's like everybody competing to find out who's the biggest fan of Halloween every time this time of year. I'm just like, guys, full on confession, I don't care for Halloween. I didn't as a kid. I barely did as a dad, and I sure as shit don't now as a grandfather, because when I was a kid, I had some not great experiences when I was a kid, but then my kids just weren't that into it. My son, who's on the spectrum, I would have to drag him out of the house, and he would make me tell him how many houses we were going to hit. And then he would count them down. And as soon as we hit 1, he was done. And my youngest daughter, all she wanted to do was hand out the candy. That was her favorite part. She didn't want to go trick-or-treating. She just wanted to hand out the candy so she could see all the costumes and stuff. So my kids weren't even into trick-or-treating, even as I was trying to like drag them out. So now I'm sitting here like fucking the Grinch of Halloween because I don't care, and everybody's so into it. And I was the idiot that suggested that we dress up. I didn't want to do the podcast today. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm like, no one's gonna watch a podcast on Halloween night, but Jess is like, we're doing this. I'm like, well, then fuck, we should dress up. It's Halloween. That's the whole part of it, right? And now I'm sitting here sweaty in a scarf. I'm like, I have so much. That's so stupid. And I've done this completely to myself.
So I know what you're saying. And I agree that, you know, the minute October hits, I mean, everything goes into Halloween mode. All social media goes into Halloween mode. All the cosplayers go into Halloween mode. All the stores, like you say, you know, the pumpkin spice lattes. And I mean, it's spooky season. It starts right at the beginning of October. For me, though, I feel like my passion in making comes from Halloween. Because that's where I got started with it, right? That's where me and Rob started making shit. When we started to decide, let's make our own stuff. Like, why would we just go out and buy stuff when we can make it ourselves? And that's how this all got started, right? So for me, celebrating Halloween is I want other people to get into it. I want the kids to be into it. I want more people to find that passion that I found into it, whether it's a passion for horror movies or for like whatever it is within Halloween that they find that does it for them. I want people to be able to find that because I found something in it, and I think it's a fantastic holiday, especially for the kids. I mean, come on, what's better than dressing up and eating candy, right? Or dressing up around the bonfire. We're going to talk about that in a second, but you know,
I
big.
thought you froze. I literally thought you froze.
But
Like, or nothing's moving. So you guys are like 95% of the rest of the cosplay community. Like you guys are into this because of that. Like Halloween was the gateway drug for you guys too.
100%.
Rob?
So
like 65%?
Not to get too in the weeds, but there is an aspect here, the fact that me, like, I'm speaking for myself, but I'm pretty sure I'm speaking for both of us. We like making shit. So I think the making shit happened, and then it was like, oh, well, let's make this for Halloween. Like, it wasn't entirely
to make shit.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. But that's where I think we discovered that, hey, we can do this, and we're good at this. I mean, for crying out loud, we converted Rob's garage into a Camp Crystal Lake cabin.
This is kind of what I'm talking about with what Andre's saying in there. It never used to be an entire month of it until the last few years, from what I recall anyway. I agree. And I don't remember it suddenly being everyone's absolute most favorite holiday. You're saying it's the second most commercialized holiday. Of course it is. That makes sense. The holiday is surrounded by buying things, costumes and candy. That's what the nature of the holiday is. And there's a variety of different costumes and a variety of different candy. It is a commercial holiday, and it probably is the second biggest commercial holiday when you think about it. Like Easter might compete with it, but that's just the chocolate, not the candies. Thanksgiving is just the meals, right? Like there's no real other holiday other than Christmas where you're buying way too many presents for everybody in your life. Halloween, everybody had to buy a costume because nobody was making them back in those days, 30 and 40 years ago. Now I really do sound like a grumpy old man, and everybody was buying candy. Right? That's, of course, it's super, super commercialized. It just feels like with the advent of social media, now everybody's putting it out there that the nostalgia factor is huge and that Halloween is now their favorite thing and they want to shout it to the rooftops. And now we have Frightmare in the Falls. Now we have shit that's centered around like actual conventions that are centered around specifically horror themed stuff, which is birthed out of Halloween, right? Like it's taken off. I feel like Halloween now is bigger than it's ever been in its history. Mostly because of social media. Yeah.
Well, social media, and like you said, over the last 30 years, look at the entertainment that's come out in the last 40 years.
Right.
And I think
the entire horror genre.
The whole entire horror, exactly, the entire horror genre. And then sort of one thing fed the other, right? Social media, and then the ever pursuit for likes and more clout.
Yeah.
You know, that allows you to dress up. And then here we are, social media, it's a big thing, right?
Sure.
Anything that sells, the marketers latch onto it.
Yeah, I agree.
Of course, we have Frightmare. Money to be made. Let's sell it.
Social media for sure is a big part of it.
I dressed up as this for the very first Frightmare in the Falls. I was invited from a media group to go. So I was and you know what Frightmare in the Falls was for the very first one? It was one day in one room. And that was it.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. We walked it in 10 minutes and then we were all kind of looking at each other like, well, what do we do now?
Yeah,
I guess we're in Niagara Falls. We'll have a good time. And now it's 3 days. It's mostly the convention center. It's a huge thing. So yeah, it definitely keeps getting bigger. And it's funny what Ice Voice is saying. There are a building at work. We have two went a bit nuts with the Halloween decorations, and I had 2 costumes today. The other building didn't decorate at all. It does seem to be an all. I work in a place that's very, very blue collar, and there's like probably, I don't know, 150 people that work in my building, and I think 3 people dressed up, and 2 of them dressed up together. They were Laverne and Shirley, and then there was like one other person that was Michael Myers, and that was it. I brought a stormtrooper helmet and a lightsaber just so I had stuff to like take pictures in and shit, but like I didn't wear anything. I drive a forklift all day. I can't drive a forklift. I mean, I guess I could have worn this, but like this is hot. I'm already dying. Like this is coming off in about 5 minutes because I'm a sweaty bitch. But it does seem to be an all or nothing kind of thing too. Like kind of like Ali is saying there. Like our one building went crazy and our other building did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Is the other building full of curmudgeons like me?
I work mostly in an office space, and we had a Halloween thing today, and there was probably about 75 people there. Like we got a really great culture. It's complete opposite.
Yeah,
I caught I cosplayed our CAO, so that's CEO
Nice.
basically, right?
Yeah.
I kind of have a similar like hair and physical build to him, and every once in a while, people are like, "Hey, you look like the boss."
Look like that guy.
So I'm like, okay, you know what? He smokes a pipe, so I printed a pipe last night. Went into work
Sweet.
today, all suit and tie, pipe. I just shouted him around the whole time.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, it was really good turnout at my work today.
Yeah, I didn't dress up at all today. I mean, I was at home, so you know.
JS, do you want to give us
my street clothes and I?
You forgot completely. Do you want to give us, JS? Do you want to give us the rundown for the 6 people watching or whatever, as far as maybe the thousands of people that are listening? Eventually, what is Halloween? Like, why do we celebrate this kooky holiday?
Oh, do we want to go through the history of Halloween?
We might as well start off with that anyways.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, so guys, I'm going to be straightforward with you guys. I didn't really know where to begin when it came to the history of Halloween, and I did a Google search, and then I realized maybe I was over my head, 2 days before a podcast. So I asked, like any other smart person would, I asked the AI, hey, give me a breakdown of the history of Halloween.
Oh, that pesky AI.
So here's what ChatGPT 4.0 mini had to say. First of all, in the beginnings,
way back when,
Halloween traces its roots back over 2,000 years to the Celtic festival of Samhain. Samhain.
Yeah.
Celebrated by the Celts in what is now
Samhain.
Ireland, the UK, and northern France. On the night of October 31st, the Celts believed the boundary between the living and the dead blurred. They lit bonfires and wore costumes to ward off ghosts. Like I was saying earlier, costume parties by the bonfire. I mean, that's my kind of Halloween party. Like back home when I was a teenager, when I grew out of trick-or-treating, then me and my buddies, that's what we would do. We would have costume parties and we would have a bonfire at somebody's house and we would all get dressed up and we would get drunk in our costumes.
I don't know that I would want to have some of the costumes I wore as a kid. Not that there were many, but near a fire. I feel like they were not terribly flame retardant. I feel like I would have gone up like a fucking Roman candle if I'd gotten anywhere near an open flame in any of those. But
yeah.
So when I was doing a bit of research today on this topic, I learned a fact according to where the research came from. Do you know where bonfire came from?
The term bonfire? I don't know.
Yeah, the name of that. So I'm probably going to butcher this, but back when these original traditions started 2,000 years ago, they used to celebrate around a large, massive fire.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, with its pagan roots and whatnot, they would sacrifice animals.
Yeah.
And the bones they would toss in the fire. So you'd have a bonfire.
And that became bonfire over the ages.
So that's either true story or I got had. I don't know. Sounds legit to me.
Myth and legend.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It sounds like you know what? No. Anyways.
Yeah, we're just gonna go with it.
That's plausible.
It's plausible. ChatGPT does have another analogy or another definition or where a word came from. When the Romans conquered the Celtic territories, they added their own festivals to the mix. 2 major ones were Feralia, a day to honor the dead, and Pomona, Pomona, the goddess of fruit and trees. Pomona's symbol was the apple, which is where we get the tradition of bopping for apples. So actually,
it all leads back to the Romans, kids. I'm so sorry, but it all leads back to the Romans.
Always.
How often in a day are you thinking about the Roman Empire?
Well, you want an honest God's honest truth?
It's too many times
Never.
for me. Really?
Never.
Oh my God. It's at least 3 times a day. That's so
never. I don't think about the Roman Empire probably not once a year.
You know what's funny is I bet you think about it nearly once a day too. You just don't realize you're thinking about something that originated in the Roman Empire. But
that's possible. I mean, fair enough.
Yeah, you're right. That's a different thing. That's not specifically thinking about the Roman Empire, but yeah,
fair enough. Okay, I'll give you that one. Fast forward to the 8th century when Pope Gregory III designated November 1st All Saints Day, time to honor all saints and martyrs. The night before became All Hallows Eve, which was eventually shortened into Halloween, which I guess was a way to Christianize the pagan festival. It makes it an actual thing, even though technically it's not a real Christian. Christians don't have festivals. They have they don't call them ceremonies. They call them in English. They call them I forget what they call them in English. But sorry,
saints.
No, like Christmas is not a ceremony. Christmas is not a holiday. It's anyway.
It's not a holiday.
It's not a holiday.
It is a holiday, but for the Christian faith, this you know what? Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. The point is Halloween.
No, please
keep
struggling with this. We need to.
Halloween is not something that is celebrated in the church for Christians.
No, it sure isn't.
Right? No, it sure is not. They made
but
sure
it's
that
still part of the Christian culture. Right? All Christians celebrate Halloween, even though it's not celebrated in the church. It was a very Christianized
that's because as the Christians sort of converted everybody from paganism, they did everything they could.
Correct.
To get rid of that.
Correct.
It feels like there's a whole sect of the holiday that, because of course the holiday led into like what we've already been talking about, horror and just there's a lot of I guess what you would consider like evil connotations that would come with this particular holiday. The holiday is meant to scare the shit out of people. So I feel like there's a lot of cases where the church is actually pretty hardcore against what a lot of what Halloween has come to represent for a lot of different people, right? Some of the imagery is so, like you two, like you in particular, JS, you're wearing essentially the costume of a mass murderer, right? Like that's super
blood all over my hands.
Supernatural mass murderer on top of that. Like you couldn't be any more Christian if you had tried. So
that actually I think goes back way further. The origins of like dressing up like that and monsters. It goes way back to when the Celtics.
There you go.
There we go. Not the Boston Celtics.
Not the Boston Celtics. The Celtics.
Yeah. From their culture, right? I don't know if you came across this, JS.
Yeah.
In your research, but why don't you? I'll let you tell that story. And
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So they believed that the barrier between worlds was breachable during that Samhain time. They prepared offerings that were left outside villages and fields for fairies or Sids, as they call them. It was expected that ancestors might cross over. That would make it easier during that time for them to cross over from the underworld back into our world. And so that the Celts would dress as animals and monsters so that fairies were not tempted to kidnap them. So my point being here, if I could tie it back to any point at all, is that it goes way back to that point.
Yeah.
Why we're dressing up as Jason Voorhees.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, look at Cinco de Mayo, look at the Mexico Day of the Dead, right? Like it's all.
Yes, that was tied into was it All Souls Day? After All Saints Day.
So there's a lot of stuff like that. Like Andre's pointing out that Christmas was originally a pagan festival that Christians pretty much co-opted for their own. As a Christian myself, I find that juxtaposition kind of amusing. And not to insult you, Andre, I don't want to offend you in any way, but nearly everything about Christianity was co-opted from a myriad of other religions and paganism and everything else. Like the pagans had their own guy that was born on the 25th that died, that raised 3 days later. Like it was all kind of co-opted and packaged in nicely. And now you have 1.5 billion Christians on the planet. So in a lot of cases, it just comes down to what people get used to doing, right? Like the way we celebrate Halloween now isn't anything like the way they celebrated it 500 years ago. Just like the way we celebrate Christmas now isn't like the way it was celebrated 500 years ago, and probably won't be the same as 500 years from now. This is just where we're at now, and it's still changing, like we've been talking about since the beginning of the podcast, right? Like now we have more outlets to have the celebration with, because now we can connect with more people globally to celebrate these specific things. In this case, Halloween. I'm telling you now, I want to say, I think a lot of the people in my life, in my surrounding, especially on social media, get more excited for Halloween than they do for Christmas now.
You think so?
I think so. I think so. I think a lot of people have kind of gotten the fact that Christmas has become a really commercialized holiday. And I think and again, I don't mean to sound offensive. Thank God there's only 7 people here. I don't think they've fully realized how the same exact thing has happened to Halloween. You've just said that it's the second most commercialized holiday, right behind Christmas. But I think for people, it's still enough that it taps into something for a lot of different people. And I imagine
absolutely it does.
Yeah, I imagine for some of it, it's like a lot of other things, like you were saying, Rob. There's still some of it that are just chasing trends. Like, oh, Halloween's super popular right now. I'm going to make sure I'm big into Halloween because it's what's popular and it's going to get me the likes and the reach and the follows and everything else. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm sure it does. But when you get oldies like us and you get memories of bringing home pillowcases full of candy,
Absolutely.
and going through and sorting it, looking for blades and shit that they swore was going to be in the candies and never was.
No, never.
Even though you would pick out all the apples and you would immediately throw them all away, and you would mark those houses because it was always some old lady that's handing out fucking Macintosh mushy ass bruised apples. Fuck that lady. We're never going back to that house. And yeah, like Rob said, you get that one gal that's handing out the full size candy bars. Mwah.
And it's funny how word spread just as fast back then.
No phones, no internet,
no phones. But you're like,
you're
where
at
it
the
was.
phone that's hanging on the wall in the kitchen, and you're phoning up your friends, be like, "Fucking tell
pop
everybody."
cans. They got pop cans. One of them giving out money and full chocolate bars.
Yeah, someone's handing out Coke. Someone's handing out cans of Coca-Cola. Hit that house, man. I'm not even allowed to have that at home. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna smuggle that into my pajamas tonight, and you're just sitting there fucking killing yourself eating so much candy and sugar the night before. How are we not all diabetic? It makes zero sense because I ate pounds of candy back in those days because you would squirrel so much to get away.
Do you guys have?
Go ahead.
No, sorry. I was going to change the subject a little bit here, so I'll let you ask you a question.
I was going to ask a question. I was just going to sort of relate to that. The thing that touches us from back in the day is, it's a feeling I forgot all year, but before the podcast, I was handing out some candy. And just that interaction brings back, so many memories, but also I love being able to now be on this side of the fence, passing that on to the people coming to my door, right?
Yeah, of course.
Sort of the same feeling you get when you're interacting with a young kid at a con, right?
100%.
You're right. It's a very similar... type of interaction. I don't know, man. There's something about these kids. They're so proud of their costumes. They're that character, right? When they come, there's a lot more little kids at Halloween than there are at cons, right? At cons, we see more.
Sure.
We don't see a lot of little kids,
right?
And the little kids, man, they're all in, right? For them, they're that character, right? They're a princess. They're Iron Man. They're the Hulk. I love it.
Well, because it's for a lot of them, it's the only time of year they get to do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Us fucking nerds do it every month. Like, these kids are finally getting to dress up in the one thing, and they've been bugging their parents for the last 3 or 4 months. Like, I want to be that. And now with all of this crazy media, like, there's so many more things they could be. What did we have when we were kids that you were dressing up as?
I'm so glad you asked this question. Go ahead, Jace.
Yeah, I mean, so you were mentioning earlier that, back in the day, you had to buy your costumes. I will say this. We didn't really grow up with a lot of money at all. So we couldn't afford costumes. So my mom would have to either make the costume with us. We would have to make our own costumes. Or my aunt, well, not my aunt. My mom's aunt was a seamstress. And she made a lot of my costumes. And for, I don't know, I want to say 3 or 4, maybe not 4 years, maybe 2 or 3 years in a row, I was a ninja. She made me this ninja costume, and it was a little bit bigger, so I was able to fit in it for a couple years in a row, and it was my favorite thing in the world. My real issue with it was the fact that nobody got to fucking see it because we were knee deep in fucking snow that year.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you, global warming.
That's what I was going to say. It was always raining.
Yeah, first year I'm wearing my ninja costume. I've got to wear my skidoo suit and my snow boots and my toque and scarf, and I'm all bundled up because we're knee high in snow. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I just want to go play my ninja costume.
Yeah,
I always remember so it'd be like poor weather, right? So what my parents did back in the day? Oh, no problem. We'll slap a garbage bag on you, right? Like, we don't have a raincoat. It's just rip open a hole in the garbage bag on it. And then if it's something I couldn't wear, my mom, I remember my mom painting me up as a clown so many times. Like, this costume didn't check out. It's pissing rain. We're still going to go out clown face because she could pull out lipstick and low effort. I'm a clown.
See, my parents weren't into Halloween at all, which is probably why I'm a grippy curmudgeon about Halloween. I mentioned buying the costumes because I was trying to relate to everybody else. We didn't buy costumes either. I got to be a ninja a couple of years too. So I would take a t-shirt and I would put the neck hole across my eyes and I would tie the t-shirt things in the back. And that was my ninja mask. Yeah. One year I took a towel, a bath towel, and I tied it around my neck so it was a cape. and I had a black t-shirt on and black pants, and I taped a white piece of paper, 8x11 paper, and wrote a G on it, and I was Super G. And that's just how I went around because, again, one, my parents had no interest in Halloween whatsoever. Two, no money whatsoever. My dad was a roofer. My mom didn't work. So there was no money in the house. So, a lot of the times we had to, like, make our own shit. I did have an older brother, and occasionally I would get a hand-me-down of some kind. But usually it would be something of my own creation, and it would be dog shit. Like I even had parents call me out a couple times being like, bro, that's not a costume. Like I don't want to give you candy. That's not a costume. I'm like, that guy, this is all I have. Like, what
exactly.
Yeah.
Or I would be playing baseball that year. So I would just put my ball cap on and like my baseball glove. And I went out as a baseball player and people are looking at me like, this is low effort shit. What do we do? I'm like, guy, like, what do you want me to tell you? This is all I have.
Yeah. Can we talk about for a second parents that, like you just said, give kids a hard time? Like, why are you giving kids a hard time? Right? You don't know what the fuck these kids are going through.
Well, first of all, some people are assholes.
Well, you know what? I mean, if you're going to be an asshole, then turn off your lights.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't put a pumpkin on your fucking porch. Turn off your lights and don't give out candy. Don't talk to the kids if you're going to be asshole to kids, if you're going to be jerk to kids. You don't know what these kids are going through.
Yeah.
Like, it blows my mind sometimes to hear some of the stories, and it's like, holy fuck, man. Like,
even my son, because my son's autistic, so he wanted to go out longer than it was. I shouldn't say he never wanted to go out, but he would go out longer than he probably should have. And he was very tall for his age very, very early on. Mm-hmm. So even when he was like 12, he was already like 5'10" or 5'11", or whatever. So yeah, a few things like he'd be ringing doorbells, and then the parents would be like, what are you doing out here? You're way too old for that. And I'm at the sidewalk yelling like, he's only 12 because he's so fucking tall.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure that he gets out because he doesn't get out very often. So I tried to drag him out every Halloween to make sure he got out anyways. But yeah, parents were giving him shit all the time because he was a big kid, right? But were you one of those parents though that you'd see like an 18-year-old would ring your doorbell at 9:30 at night trick-or-treating and you're like, bruh, like, what do you do? One, you're too old. Two, it's too late. Like, what are you doing?
I mean, at that point, again, if I'm still open and giving candy, I don't give a shit, right? But if my lights are turned off and we're shut down, don't come ringing on my doorbell.
No, I get that.
Right? Like, that's the way I see it. Like, if you're still giving out candy, don't give these kids shit, right? Like, just give them the fucking candy. And
even if it's some punk ass 19-year-olds that are clearly out just to troll candy.
You know what? So I'm kind of both. I'm right in the middle. When it's that case, I'm like, bro, really? But I'm like, well, at least you're not trying to break into my car. Here you go.
Right?
At least you're not like
True.
Up some other shit.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing this 19-year-old is doing is trying to get candy at 9 o'clock at night. I'm cool.
Take some candy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm gonna have to eat it anyway.
Oh, you poor thing. I'm sure you hate having to go through that the next day.
Like,
Now, will you guys have kids? So would you do the dad move too, where you're checking their candy and you're just piecing out shit that you love? Like, does that
we call that a candy tax?
Yeah, this is the dad tax. No, it's 100% the dad tax.
Yeah. For sure.
I was fortunate because my two younger ones that would go out, my youngest daughter didn't like chocolate. So she liked like gummies and that kind of stuff. My older boy only liked chocolate. He didn't like all the gummy stuff. So I would take all the chocolates from my younger ones and all the gummies from my older one. And you would think I would swap them, and I didn't. I just kept them because I'm a piece of shit. So thanks for the child labor, kids. Now dad has a sack full of candy too that he did nothing to earn because you two. And that's how I'm like, you don't want this, right? You don't like this? And they'd be like, no, I don't like that. I'm like, perfect. Then I'll eat that. I never offered it to the other.
Are you not the one going out with them trick or treating?
And buying the costumes and
right? Like, you're participating just as much as they are. All they're doing extra is ringing the doorbell.
All they're doing extra. I'm just ruining their fucking holiday for them by honking all their candy. I'm like, oh, you got some Reese's Pieces? Yeah, those are dad's. There's no way you're getting Reese's Pieces. That's
you're allergic to those.
Yeah, you don't want those. Those are terrible.
Yeah, the candy tax. Yeah, I mean,
dad tax is a thing for sure. My youngest daughter sends me memes of dad tax shit. Like they're in the back seat and suddenly dad's hand is like this in the back seat for the dad tax candy. And they open up a bag of M&Ms or whatever. 100%. Yeah, she knows. She's like, yeah, this was you. I'm like, yeah, of course. The dad tax. That's now it wasn't just me. Now it's dads across the world.
Let's be honest. When they're coming home with 2 and 3 pillowcases full of freaking candy, they can spare,
Like, look at this shit.
Small
like,
percentage.
come on, man. Like, Geeks Games and Collectibles. Growing up, we had a math teacher that lived in our area. They gave out really good stuff, but they would force you to earn it by answering math questions at their doorstep before letting you have it.
Oh, I would have all the best candy because I was good at math, man.
But what if you weren't?
Well, tough shit, bud.
What if you
getting
sucked
candy
at
there.
math and you're watching the dude in front of you get this amazing fucking whatever, like full bag of Ruffles or whatever? You're getting shit because you don't know your fractions.
Well, you should
You didn't bring
pay
your
more
fucking
attention.
protractor with you. This is horseshit.
You know what I remember? Speaking of too much candy, I remember, and I didn't realize this till later, but looking back on it, come Christmas, my stocking would always be full of
old Christmas, of old Halloween
old
candy.
Halloween candy, and I was like,
Ah.
I don't think these ghosts
Boxes
are
of
real
Smarties, the little
Yeah,
Halloween
the-
boxes
yeah.
of Smarties, the little mini
Yeah.
Kit Kats, the little mini
and it would
Aero
just
bars.
be out of my Halloween bag, right
Damn
into
straight.
the thing, right?
Allie, I feel like there's a story here. I didn't even trick or treat until my teens.
Really?
Interesting. I feel like there's got to be a story behind that because that definitely feels like an outlier.
I also
Like my
found
dad kept me home one year because my father and I had a very tumultuous relationship. Like one year he was just like, I don't believe you. You did. I don't even remember what I was supposed to have done, but and so my siblings went out and he made me sit in the house for the entirety of Halloween. I didn't get to trick or treat once. I was like 9.
Did you
8,
kill somebody?
something.
Why, were you in trouble?
No.
What did you
Well,
do?
apparently, I don't remember what the nature of the conflict between my father and I was. Like I said, we didn't meet eye and eye on almost anything, but I do remember the one year he was just like, "You're not going out," and I was like, "It's Halloween." He's like, "Yeah, I don't care. You're not going out." And I sat there and I watched my siblings go out and get candy and come back and me not get to go out. So I already had like kind of like a shit experience with Halloween as it was because I remember that like it's yesterday to this day, sitting on the stairs leading downstairs.
But you don't remember what you did to get to that point.
I don't. No,
I guess it
I'm
wasn't
sure it
that
was.
good
I
enough.
mean, like I said, we were at odds all the time, so
Yeah,
it could have
fair
been something terrible, and it could have been absolutely nothing at all. Like either one of those is pretty plausible as far as that goes. But there you go, Megan Murray. This is editor Megan, by the way. Our house hands out full size chocolate bars, but one could grab 4 today. Everyone else has been good though. That kid's just an entrepreneur. That's all that is. That's an enterprising young, I'm guessing, man.
I found it funny when I was reading through the history here. I mean, it's a Celtic holiday. You know, it started basically in the UK. Jim was telling me how when her mother was little, growing up in England, they didn't celebrate Halloween. It wasn't a thing for them over there. So its roots are from there, but I guess the holiday really grew out of North America and spread out, I would assume.
Sure.
The Halloween holiday itself, I guess. Did you get any extra information in your research on that, Mr. Anonymous there? Whatever your name is?
I did not see that particular piece. I don't think I got that far the timeline.
It does feel like it's a bigger deal in North America than pretty much anywhere else in the world, though, doesn't it? It does feel like we go crazy for it now.
Probably
a lot of people in like Czechia are celebrating Halloween, or people in like Sweden are celebrating it. Like I don't feel like it's something that happens on that side of the pond very often. You know what I mean?
don't know.
I'm jaded, and I what I'm about to say is jaded, but I feel like North America has perfected the best way to sell and extract money from the people who live here.
Yeah,
perhaps better than anybody else in the whole world.
He lived in England till '89. It was a non-event there, so yeah.
Really.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they celebrate it now. I think again, social media I think has globalized a lot of these type of things. Like Halloween. It's not tied to a specific religion. Something that everybody can do and celebrate. There are so many pieces to Halloween, like we were saying earlier, right? From the costuming to the horror side to all the whole pumpkin spice latte and the whole commercialized of drinks and blah blah blah. Like there's so many different things. I feel like it's globalized with social media. It's globalized Halloween a lot, I think. In the last few years, anyway.
Parents were always busy, so instead of going trick-or-treating, I was stuck with candy duty. Boo. Boo, hiss, boo. Allie, that sucks. Sorry to hear that.
So,
by the way, for you parents out there, especially parents of like newer kids, or you're gonna have kids soon, like maybe Becca out there, if you guys are listening a little bit after the backs, 10 to 12. That's all you get. You get 10 to 12 Halloweens when they're old enough to know what it is. But before they get older, old enough that they don't want to do it with you anymore, you get 10 or 12, 10, 11, 12 of them, and that's it. So make sure you make each one of them count. I'm not even a Halloween guy, but use those 10 to 12 Halloweens to your advantage, because once they hit a certain age, they either don't want to go out anymore or they just don't want to go out with you, and you don't really get to celebrate it with them anymore. So from the age of 3 to like 13, maybe, that's what you've got. That's your window. And then you literally never get it again. So take advantage, kids.
Yeah, thanks. Now I'm a little bit sad.
Sorry, man.
You have a great point.
A friend of mine told me that. Don't waste it. Make sure you're spending it. You're having the kids trick or treating. Understand? Black Friday was U.S. only thing until maybe a decade ago. Now everybody in the West is doing that. Yeah. Well, again, it was tied to their specific Thanksgiving type thing, right? Which they were celebrating because it was their specific Thanksgiving. Everybody else in the modern world celebrates the most celebrated holiday across the globe is independence from England, is Independence Day for the British Empire. So this Black Friday is specific to the US. And now, but then when they realized they could have like these crazy sales and that everybody wanted to jump in on it because it was such a marketing ploy, then obviously everybody else was like,
yeah,
all these Canadian in North America anyway, all these Canadians leaving to go to the States to buy shit. They're like, no,
let's keep here. Let's do our own sale.
Yeah, and now you get like
those things have no meaning anymore.
And no, because you get like Black Friday month, or you'll get
Black
like
Friday in
boxing,
July,
or like boxing week sale or boxing month sale. Or I'm like, you guys are just what? Am I fucking stupid? Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, this was cheaper like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So you jack the price and then you put it on sale. Like, fuck off. Like, I'm not dumb. Yeah.
Nata's saying Dias de los Muertos is celebrated by an entire country. Yeah, but Day of the Dead is a different day though. I think it's the 2nd. It's a different holiday than Halloween.
It is, because you had All Saints Day on November 1st, and then you had All Souls Day on November 2nd, which is
which is what became the Day of the Dead. Yeah, I mean, listen,
they called it All Saints Day, according to my research today.
Yeah,
because when they were converting it from paganism to Christianity, many gods to one God, they're like, we can't have it this all gods thing we're celebrating. It's got to be the saints we're celebrating,
right?
And that's kind of how that morphed from one to the other.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It could fall on a few different days. The Day of the Dead. The Day of the Dead is the holiday traditionally celebrated on November 1st and 2nd, though other days such as October 31st or November 6th may be included depending on the locality.
Huh? Locality.
So where you are in Mexico, as far as what day is going to, be celebrated. Yeah.
I've literally never heard of that before.
The Day of the Dead.
See, we learn something every time on the Geek Boutique podcast.
Hey, that's why we're here, not just to entertain, but also to educate.
No, I had no idea that it would be celebrated at different days based on where you're at. Like that's
sure.
I don't know of any other holiday that's like that.
Well, I mean, the one that we just mentioned, like Thanksgiving, is different in different nations and such, and even the holiday they mentioned, the Independence Day from the British Empire, is celebrated different times because different countries did it at different times. So yeah, that will happen. But yeah, now we're into this hugely corporate thing that everyone really, 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 really loves, and it was the gateway drug for almost everybody we've ever interviewed for cosplay. Right, nearly everybody that we've ever talked to. I can count on one hand how many people didn't say Halloween led into cosplay. There's me, and I think there's like 2 other people, and everybody else was like, yeah, I loved Halloween, loved dressing up already, so that led into cosplay. Yeah, for me, it was a midlife crisis that led into cosplay. That's neither here nor there. That's the whole thing. Easter jumps around all over the place. Yes, yeah, some of them where it's like this second weekend.
Oh, you're right.
This or whatever, right?
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Because Easter is not a date; it's the first Sunday of the fall moon or the spring moon or something to that effect. Like I forget how it exactly works, but yeah,
again,
you're
another converted pagan holiday, and Christianized pagan holiday and such. Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, that happens for sure. Are there any other? I know there's not very many people in the chat, but is there anybody else in the chat amused by the fact that guys started out in costume and gradually every one of them is like, "F it, off of the costume."
Yeah,
it's warm.
It's hot.
Yeah,
technically, JS still has his like.
I still have my flannel shirt on.
Yeah,
it's pretty hot.
But I was dying in a leather jacket and the scarf. First, the scarf came off. I'm like, oh, now I'm fine, and I'm sitting here in a white t-shirt. I'm still sweaty. So.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. I didn't even want to dress up, and then I realized it was my idea.
It's the people who normally will go like 7 hours in a costume.
Yeah, and now I can't sit here
20
for
minutes later.
Yeah, I'm dying.
Yeah, because I'm at home. I'm not used to being a sweaty, uncomfortable prick while I'm at home.
Well, for sure. Usually when you're at a con and you're walking around and you're having a good time and you're drinking beers and,
I love the
you deal with it, right?
Yeah, because you're bringing ideally you're bringing joy to somebody else based on whatever character you're portraying and fandom that you're representing. And here, I'm just in my basement, sweaty. No thanks, I'm good.
I feel like cosplayers are just the people who figured out that we can have that feeling many more times a year, than just the one time a year.
That's fair. Now, how many of you are going to be trolling the supermarkets tomorrow for all the discounted candy? Because I tried this last year and I didn't find much, which was weird.
You know why?
The few days leading up to it, there was so much out, and then literally November 1st, like right after
it's
work,
gone. They don't.
It's not discounted. It's just
they're not going to sell it
anymore.
to you cheap. Yeah, they take it away.
Oh no! They do.
You buy Christmas candy.
Everything's already on sale. You go now to Shoppers and its shelves are half empty. Everything's been on sale for like a week now.
No, but you know how it used to be. The day after Thanksgiving, all the bullshit they brought in, Halloween, all the bullshit they brought in, the big packs of it that don't sell. You're not going to sell everything.
Yeah.
There's certain things they're not going to sell. You used to be able to go in on November 1st and get half off, or
they wised up. I don't know where that chocolate's going, but
but it's not on the shelf anymore.
1st, it's Christmas candy. Why would they? Why would they sell you discounted candy when they can sell you full price?
Yeah, they just repackage it. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, but they were only selling you discount candy because they had nothing else to do with it, because there's a shelf life for it for so long, and they have to get rid of it because it's Halloween candy and Halloween's gone.
Correct.
So
exactly.
They would candy gone.
They would. I bet you money they would rather throw it out, take the loss, than they would sell it to you cheaper than they could new candy.
If they take the loss, they can actually write that off.
Yeah.
Right, it's technically a write-off for them.
Like I said earlier,
this is all fantastic, but here's the problem: I want cheap candy.
Everybody wants cheap candy, bud. That's called a dollar store.
Well, yeah, but I can do that any time of year. I want cheap, giant bags of assorted candy that I'm getting for like $3 that used to be $18. That's what I want, and now I can't have it. And I got it for years, and now it's just like, no, we're not doing that anymore. Need to refill the candy cabinet at work.
Yeah, I don't see that happening anymore either.
Yeah.
Well, that's bullshit. Now I like the holiday even less.
Although the Halloween,
you have a point though. I will say at Shoppers, I have seen that Shoppers is the only bastion left of cheaper candy.
Right. Stuff is on sale at Shoppers for like a week. Yeah,
but stuff on sale at Shoppers just means it's the same prices as it is everywhere else, because Shoppers has got their prices jacked 300.
Well, when their candy goes on sale, it's usually pretty good sale.
I will take your word for it, sir.
But again, like at this point now on Halloween night at almost 8:00, they probably don't have a whole lot left on their shelves to begin with. So I remember
I don't go to Shoppers for my Halloween candy if I'm buying it, right? So I guess that's for me. I either go to the grocery store or Walmart because it's always cheaper there than it is.
I want to tell the story of when me and Rob decided we were first gonna do Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees. Actually, I think originally we were going to do Michael Myers and Freddy, and then I was like, yeah, fuck Freddy, I'm just going to do Jason, and then I stuck with Jason all these years. Even though this is like my third or fourth mask now. That year, like I was saying earlier, we decided to convert Rob's garage into a Camp Crystal Lake cabin, and we went and bought Halo hay bales, and we bought a bunch of pumpkins, and we made like a Camp Crystal Lake sign, and like we did like the whole 9 yards, and we made Jello shots in.
Yes, I was gonna say.
We made Jello shots in big syringes, Jello shot syringes, and they were like red strawberry Jello. So the kids would come for candy, the parents would get a Jello shot. Dude, we ran out of candy. We had to send Nook, my daughter, out to Shoppers to get some extra candy because we ran out of candy. And then she came back with like just like garbage, right? Because they were pretty much out of candy at Shoppers as well, right? So she came with whatever leftover candy she could find.
You know, Lysol wipes and fucking here's some
candy. It's
individually packaged Kleenex and
so yeah. So that was peak. I think Halloween.
So here's the $1 million question. You're talking about how why did you guys stop doing that? What led to you guys no longer doing that? Was it too much work? Was it too much of an expenditure? Did COVID kill it? Those killed it. The Predator killed it?
Yeah, so we decided that fuck doing up a garage. Let's make costumes. And here, let's take a look at it. There you go.
So whose house is this?
That was Rob's house.
That was my old house.
Your old place. I got you.
Yeah. So
and then on the inside of the garage, it had smart lights. And the smart lights had like effects going. And then we had a fog machine that I still own, blowing out fog, like basically covering the whole street in fog. Like it was, yeah.
So you could do this again.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, absolutely. But I've had like 4 kids come to my house for one.
Right. Yeah, that's the problem, right? Like the kids don't come around. Like I said, last year I tried to do something and I had all of 3 kids, right? So, you know, and then I think what happened for us anyway is instead of building something big, we decided we were going to make costumes, and we made the Predators. So that year, instead of staying at home and building in the garage, we went out in our Halloween costume, in our Predator costumes. And that's when we were like, this is not a Halloween costume. Like this is like, we can't just, we got to wear these for more than just Halloween. And that's when that we really got into like cosplay at cons. So that kind of, and then the pandemic happened, and then these were put on hold for 2 years because then we didn't have any cons. We didn't have Halloween, and you know what I mean? So,
and to give you a non-fun answer to your question is just like, if I'm going to build something, if I only have so much time to build something, like I'm fully in on the Geeks and Company, right? We're building stuff for that. So
yeah, for sure. No, I was just kind of wondering, like, if like what reason did it fall out? Because you guys seem fiercely proud of that, and you should be, because it's dope, and you're making it sound like it was a great time. But then
it was a great time.
We're just not doing that anymore. So it is.
Yeah,
I
it was
know what the
fantastic.
genesis of that was. Yeah, no, that's good.
I think that we could totally do it again. We would totally have to rebuild the facade. We could probably go bigger and badder. The other problem when you're building something like that is storage. Like, where do you put it when it's not up for that one night?
Oh, I'm sure.
Right? Like, look at Christina. The amount of decorations, like she must have like a friggin' storage unit just for her Halloween stuff.
Steve would be the guy to talk to as well. He's got his whole 519 walk, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know where they keep it all.
Like that was, I think, the big key, because the next day it was gone. Right, that whole thing was dismantled and in the garbage, basically.
Yeah.
And it was easier building something to throw it out the next day, right?
Yeah. If we did something like that again, it wouldn't get tossed. But I mean, at that point during the pandemic, like JS and I, as you know, we used to live 5 houses apart. Yeah. So it would always be
it was easier. Yeah.
No,
it would always be like back and forth.
Yeah.
And now it's like we're still in the city, but it's not that easy, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. No, and you're right. Yeah. Now, if you're going to take on a big building project, you're going to build something for the booth now.
Correct.
Exactly.
That's not a once a year thing that some kids are going to show up to. That's going to be like 6 times a year where thousands of people are going to come through and see it. Right. So priorities. No, 100%. I wasn't giving you a shit. I was just curious how it kind of got so high and then died. But I just assumed it was the pandemic.
For us, it evolved into the Geeks and Co.
Yeah.
Basically.
That's why.
And now we do it all year round, right?
That's how we got here.
Yeah, we do it all year round.
Eat on the microphone the whole time,
Yeah,
bitching about listening to Eminem over and over and over again.
Guys, we've been on for almost an hour, and we've not even talked about kind of the one thing that I was really hoping we would spend most of our time talking about tonight is the actual Halloween movies. Because let's be honest, we're talk about mostly geeky media stuff here on the show.
We were reminiscing.
I just want to at least throw this in. Me, producer Jen, and my youngest T went through the Halloween. Yeah, there he is. That series. So we went through the 2019 Kills and Ends. Ends was a bit disappointing. It was kind of silly, if I'm honest. But 2019 and Kills were amazing. I think they topped the rank of Halloween movies for me. Are you guys into the Halloween movies? I mean, obviously you're into Michael Myers, Rob. You have his mask and you cosplay him. But
Yeah, I usually go on a
Halloween trip. Yeah,
where I go through. I haven't done it this year, but I'll go through the whole thing. Yeah.
Do you watch 3?
I watch them all. Not necessarily that I like all the one or the other.
3 is the one where it's not with Michael Myers at all. It's the Masks one.
Season of the Witch.
Season of the Witch.
Oh.
Where they like get possessed with they're not possessed. I don't even remember it very well. It was the weird one.
Oh,
that had nothing to do with the other
ones.
ones.
Go back and binge them. Yeah, that one gets skipped.
Yeah.
And then 4 was literally like the return of Michael Myers.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it was called.
No.
Because he returned.
Yeah.
He did.
And then they
I agree with you. The latest couple, 2 or 3 have been great. Better than those ones.
Oh yeah, those the 4, 5, 6 were not very good. I didn't like him very much. They were kind of, I mean, I guess they were meant to be campy a little bit, I suppose, but I don't know. They weren't what Halloween was when they first started. They became like the Scream movies, right? You know how the Scream movies become less and less scary and intense, and they become more and more of a Scooby-Doo movie.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Checking the boxes.
Yeah.
Different
So those 3 Halloween movies kind of do that for me. They're more Scooby-Doo movies than they are Michael Myers movies. But
I feel like the Saw franchise kind of ended up doing something similar where, like, in at least the first couple of films, it felt like there were traps you could get out of. If you thought about it and you tried, you could.
There was a way out.
It was a terrible way to get out, but you could get out. And after that, it just came, the whole franchise was like, what interesting and unique ways can we kill people on screen?
Right.
That's all it was. The traps you couldn't get out of the traps anymore. It was just, let's see how wild and crazy we can make these traps. And I'm like, wow, this fell off so fucking hard. This was such a cool concept initially. Figuring out puzzles that not get killed. It was so dope.
That first movie was a game changer in horror genre at that time. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just 2 guys in a fucking room, right? Like, how fucking much more creepy can you get? One guy's got a spoiler alert. One guy's got to saw his own foot off to get out. You don't realize it.
And then the guy who's been laying there dead the whole time
is the guy that
is the guy.
Yeah. But then you don't realize in the very
I forgot that
film,
he was in there the whole
time.
Bell is
laying
right.
in the middle of the thing, pretending to be dead. But in the very first scene of the film, you see the keys for the cuffs get knocked by one of them and go down one of the drains. So they started off with the key that would have unlocked the cuffs, and it gets knocked into a drain, and then they have to figure out from there how the hell they're going to get out. So no, it's fantastic. And the second one, I feel like still had some of those elements. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it still had some of those elements. And then by the third and fourth ones, and then for whatever reason, they killed the Tobin Bell character, and they shifted it to like a whole different dude. I'm like, why would you kill Jigsaw? Like, there are all these, anyways, it got bad in a hurry. And I feel like the Halloween movies, well, I think all of them kind of went through those stages, right? Where if they didn't get some kind of a soft reboot, then they all kind of like, cause the Friday the 13th movies were the same thing, right? They ended up falling off a cliff on quality after a while. And like one of them happened in space. One of them happened.
We don't talk about that one
in space.
Yeah. We don't talk about Jason X.
Space.
Yeah.
Although they did make Freddy versus Jason, which was cool. I mean, I think, again, they didn't have him fight till the very end, but it was kind of cool seeing those two horror icons on screen at the same time. I was like, hey, you're getting my money. I'm not even a horror guy, but you're going to get my money on that one. You made it intriguing.
Isn't it weird?
Is Tina okay? I don't know who Tina Johnson is, but
Number 8, never mind. Right now, never mind. Gap. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not sure what's happening there.
I don't know.
There's like a cat walking on their keyboard or something.
Yeah.
Is it weird to you guys?
With horror movies, I find only the first couple are ever good. Seems like it, anyways. They kind of run out of ideas. It seems like, right?
Is it weird that there really aren't any real horror movies out in the theater right now?
I mean,
like I feel like usually a
Smile
Halloween
2 or 3 is out right now.
Isn't that on streaming?
I don't know, but my kids just went to the theater and saw it on the weekend.
Oh, okay. I thought it might have been on streaming.
It might be. I don't know how long it's been in the theater.
You know what? Fair enough.
I'm really hope whoever Tina Johnson is genuinely okay. I hope, it is like one, like maybe they've got a small kid that's just banging on the keyboard or something. I didn't bring my secret decoder ring, Tina. I don't know what you're trying to say to us.
But
Blink twice if you need an intervention.
Yeah, Timmy had a good point though. Usually the first couple are really good, and then they'll usually drop off, and then every once in a while you'll be lucky enough to find like a showrunner, right, like a director or a producer that has a vision, right, and will reinvent the franchise a little bit, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Right? Like,
I think someone just did a big list of like the top 100 horror movies of all time, and I think Texas Chainsaw is what the original Texas Chainsaw is.
The original
one, yes, I think it was like Texas Chainsaw, Exorcist, and another classic. I don't remember whatever, but maybe it was maybe it was Amityville. One of those, anyways. So it's hard to actually find something that's genuinely scary. I still remember. I think it's Poltergeist 2 that had the preacher.
Yeah, that's the one with the clown. The clown under the kid's bed.
No, the old man preacher that was coming to their house, and he had this really gaunt face. It's my younger sister. If I were to call her right now, and because he went up to their house, he's like, "Let me in." If I were to call my sister right now and do that, she would start to cry. Genuinely, she would actually cry.
Sorry, the clown was in the first one, not the second one.
I think that was Poltergeist 2, which is not a great film, but that dude is so fucking creepy looking and acted so well in that particular role of being this creepy preacher guy that it genuinely, because all the hack and slash stuff, I don't know, man. Like a guy in a hockey mask cutting up campers. I'm like, this is just evolution. Like, this is fine. Like, this is just natural selection. I have no problem with this. But
survival of the fittest.
Yeah, man. Like, genuinely scary people, like ominous, weird ass fucking people like that to me is way more atmospheric and scary, or something that's like The Exorcist to me was a much scarier style of movie because it seemed like not something that could genuinely happen, but you know what I mean? Like it hit me in a different part of my soul than like just another hacker.
There's something to be said about the fact that there's different types of horror movies, right?
That's what I'm saying.
There's slashers, there's thrillers, there's some that are more suspenseful, some that are more gory, the Michael Myers, the Jason, Friday the 13th, Freddy. The slasher type movies are never super gory. They're always a little bit campy, you know what I mean? But they're just a fun ride. You get a really scary movie is something else, because some of the scary movies sometimes you don't even see what happens.
Yeah, like The Ring or Insidious, or one of these where a lot of it's either a jump scare is happening off camera or whatever, right?
It's implied that there's something, right? Asian horror movies are bone chilling and creepy. I think The Ring, yeah, exactly.
And then the KG Games, yes, Julian Beck was his name, played the preacher in Poltergeist 2. That guy scared the shit out of me as a kid. My sister as well. She fucking hated that dude.
Ali's saying Asian horror movies. I would even say one step further, Korean horror movies.
Bone chilling and creepy. Think The Ring, be more on edge watching those than Western horror movies. Yeah, it feels 100%. Like a lot of the Western horror movies are meant to be kind of like what JS is saying. I don't feel like the first Friday the 13th or even the first Nightmare on Elm Street per se was like as campy as it got, because they ended up kind of realizing that, like, probably through test audience and focus groups or whatever, that the camp is what was actually working. Like, people were enjoying the camp side of it as opposed to being bone ass scared. But I even remember, was it The Ring? No, which one's the 7 days you watch The Thing? That's The Ring. Yeah, when you see The Ring, you've only got 7 days. And there's like one really quick shot of the one girl like crouched in the closet and her face is all like fucked up or whatever. Like it's all like dragged off to one side or whatever. But you see it super fast. Like her head kind of turns as she's like in this closet and her face does that. But it's like a blink and you miss it. And because it was so fast, that's what freaked me out. If it had been some long panning shot on it, it wouldn't have the same effect. So I feel like how they make horror movies has improved dramatically over the course of the time too, on how they're trying to scare you now by not showing you and letting your mind fill in what the really fucked up parts are, right? Because we're all a little screwed up.
Great point. And I'll be honest with you, I don't like that. I haven't seen The Ring. I don't want to see The Ring. I don't like that feeling. So as much as I have Michael Myers and horror shit I don't like watching it. Stay away from it.
Yeah. I don't blame it.
The slasher stuff. Yeah, but
it's not my genre at all. Like neither the slasher or the psychological one. It's not. Yeah. The less they show, the scarier it is, this Tammy shit. Yeah. Sometimes if they do it right, sometimes that could be way more fucked up.
I'm a little bit
like, do you remember the movie Signs?
Oh, I loved Signs.
Okay, do you remember that traumatic moment where they're watching the TV
when they see the alien the first time on the TV and he fucking like
I'm literally getting goosebumps. Right? There's a meme out there of a guy standing next to M. Night Shyamalan with a big sign that says, "Thanks for ruining my childhood," with a picture, a screenshot of that particular scene. Again, same thing. Like it's like that scene is 2 seconds long.
Yeah, not even. It's just woof. It's like
yeah. No. Bone chilling. Chilling. So you're right, JS. There's different styles of horror movies these days, right?
I am with Rob a little bit though, that like some of those there's some of it that is too much for me that I'm not even like interested in. Slashers are fun, but I always remember when I went to see the first Hostel in theaters, and I almost walked out on that movie. I was like, well, why am I here? Like, what the fuck is this nonsense? Like
the torture porn almost, right?
Yeah, like why am I watching somebody getting their eyeball like plucked out of their skull? Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird. Like I don't mind like some grotesque stuff, especially when it's like you say, when it's like that blink and it's like, oh fuck, that's you know. Sometimes it's just too much.
No, I agree with you. I couldn't get into any of those either. Those torture porn movies, like I couldn't. Like Human Centipede, I think I tried.
Oh yeah, no,
we were good. No. I've heard about it. I know the concept. I refuse to watch. Go near it.
Terrible, because it really is there to just to push your limits as a human being, to shock you as much as possible, right?
Yeah,
as much as you can physically get away with on a movie screen.
No thanks.
But there's a market for that too, right? I mean, those movies exist because people like, I don't know, getting that screwed up. I don't know, man. I could never ever. Blair Witch,
business, man.
Yeah, Blair Witch is another one that
horror
genre too, right?
Yeah.
Blair Witch they made for like $5, and it made
talk about like nothing scary happening. Nothing happened in that movie until the very end.
But they came up with this genius idea of this found footage film. Like, we just found these tapes and we're showing them to you, and this is something that happened, and they filmed it in such a way for no money, and it made $1 million. And then all of a sudden there were all these found footage films that were just basically ripping off Blair Witch.
Yeah, and I hated that they tried to market it as a real found footage movie.
But that's why it worked.
Right?
That's why it worked.
I mean, I know that's why
it was genuine. Yeah.
That was the first movie I ever, I think, pirated. It was one of the first movies available to be pirated at the time because of the way it came out. And because of the way it came out, and the way at least I saw it at first, was a movie I got on the internet in the 90s, right? And it looked like found footage from a camera. So, like, there was no marketing about it.
In your mind, you're downloading found footage from... Like,
well, and at the time, people didn't know. Like, that was the shtick, right? Like, people were like, is this real? Is this a movie? Like, what is this, right?
And
there's always that shadow of a doubt.
Yes, because snuff films were a thing, right? If you watched, what is it, 8 millimeter, I want to say, whatever it is.
I think 8 millimeter.
8 millimeter, I think, Nicolas Cage. snuff films used to be, I think there used to be canisters of films that would be not depictions, but actually people getting murdered or killed or tortured or whatever. Like there was an underground market way back. Look up snuff films, SNUFF. So that's kind of what they were trying to do with Blair Witch, to make you think we found this canister
Just like
of
the
film.
Face of Death style videos.
Not quite sort of like Face of Death, but more like
Faces of Death or whatever it was called.
Death, Area 51 or whatever the hell those sites were. Yeah, similar too, but like they know there's a camera rolling and they're killing somebody on camera and then distributing that film in a canister to like their elitist social buddies type of thing. Yeah, snuff films is a dark moment in the past. But I think that's what they were trying to do with Blair Witch. Like, we found this canister that has this thing happening, and you're going to watch it, and you're not going to know if it's real or not. And the way they filmed it and the way the actors did it, they were like, that was the intention the whole time.
The way they marketed it,
Blair Witch almost ruined camping for me. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't seen it. I have a problem watching films that are shaky cam. I get sick. Yeah, and that's all Blair Witch is. I think I tried once, and I was like,
it's a lot of that, which added to the like illusion of like, is this a movie? Like, what the fuck?
Right, the realism of it, right?
Yeah.
I went to see The Fly in 35 millimeter. The review this week, so much fun. Yeah,
great movie.
Yeah.
I don't like the shaky camera thing either. Mm-hmm. It eventually gives me a headache.
If used appropriately, like we were talking about that scene in Signs, like that scene in Signs, it's a bit of a shaky camera, but that lends to the genuineness of it, like Rob was saying.
You're watching it on
but if the whole movie is like that,
no.
I got halfway through District 9 and I actually had to leave the theater because I was getting sick, because the whole first half of District 9 is while he's going into the different encampments and trying to get the prawns out, it's all handheld shaky camera. And I got halfway through the movie that I paid for in a theater, and I had to, because the theater was pitch black. So it's just this giant screen of this all the time. And I felt bad because I went with a buddy of mine and he had to leave with me. And I learned afterwards that, like, if I waited 10 more minutes, then it's all steady cam after that as he's starting to go through the transformation and everything else. But the whole first half of that movie is nothing but shaky cam, like, you sons of bitches.
So an example of where I think that is used appropriately, not a horror thing, but we're watching The Rookie on whatever, and when that's a police show, right? So when they're doing the shots of like the body
cam shots,
but they only use it very sparingly, right? And it works.
Yeah,
but I couldn't.
You're cutting in and out. Someone else. Same with Andre. I could not watch Cloverfield. Same way.
You know what? I will say this. I'm the opposite. I like
Cloverfield.
Yeah. I love that it was making us feel like we were experiencing it with them. Like
right, that was meant to be a found footage as well.
Yeah. But I mean, when you're watching the found footage of somebody getting killed, or the found footage of somebody trying to run away in the woods from the spirit, for me felt different than watching New York City getting attacked by a monster.
Right. No, obviously.
All of a sudden, it feels like I'm there. Right.
That's what Andre's saying. Like, big, harder to sell Cloverfield as real found footage.
Yes, for sure.
I couldn't watch it because of the shaky camera. It was making me ill. It's not like I have no idea if it's a good movie or not because I can't watch it. I'd have to watch it on a screen this big.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm
movie.
Not really getting the experience of it if I'm watching it on a fucking Casio watch. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really the same.
Way better than the other two. I'll say that.
Fair enough.
Part 2 and 3 were meh.
I think we can all agree, though, that the horror genre would not be what it is without Halloween, without the holiday Halloween, right? I mean, that's at the end of the day. I don't know that we wouldn't have horror movies without the Halloween holiday, but the two of them definitely feed on each other, right?
They do for sure. Like I was saying earlier, usually Halloween is when all the horror movies come out. Mm-hmm. Which is weird that this year they don't. Like, there's Terrifier.
Yeah, it's like all the Christmas movies at Christmas and all the Thanksgiving movies at Thanksgiving, and now they're like, it's all streaming, man. We don't fucking care. Watch it anymore.
So we didn't really get a whole lot of horror movies this year. But you're right. I feel like, especially in the last 15 to 20 years, they have fed each other big time. Mm-hmm. You got paparazzis over there, Rob? You're flashing in your office.
Looking up. Oh, no, he's just looking up stuff on his monitor. It's coming up, but it's.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, I was looking to see what horror movies came out this month.
I don't think any. Terrifier.
Terrifier, Smile 2.
Oh yeah, Terrifier 3. Yes, that's right. Art the Clown.
Yeah, which apparently is quite disappointing.
Really?
I've only heard from a couple of people that saw it. They said it was just, I don't know. Again, not my genre. I haven't seen.
I'm not gonna lie. I never even knew what movie that character was from until about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I've seen the character. I didn't know what it was from.
Yeah. The first two have been really, really popular. There was another one like a
spinoff.
No, yes and no. There was like I think the other one was an anthology type thing where it had like a couple of shorts that were based in that world, I believe, or something to that effect. I wish.
Where's Jeff and Lacey when we?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I wish they were around. They could tell me more about it. But yeah, I never really got into. That's the hardcore indie, like horror movies, right? A lot of people are into that stuff. I'm not into horror enough to go digging into.
No, we have that in London. We have Shock Stock here in London for the last 10 years or whatever. And that's kind of what the genre they lead into is like guys trading bootleg VHS tapes out of their trunk. Right. Is sort of what that demographic that they lean into. So kind of like the anime kids used to do back in the day too. Like there was no mass media to enjoy any of these things. It was like you had to get a bootleg from Japan to watch it and have someone put in subs in there to translate it for you type of thing. Well, indie horror used to be the same thing. A little more accessible now, obviously, with all the streaming services and all the internet and such. But yeah, there's a market out there for it, man. You're right, though. I'm the same way. I'm not on that side of it. It's not a.
I like horror movies. I like I said, I like a good slasher movies. There's classics, like Rob is saying, that I'll rewatch. Big Predator fan, although I know the first one was the only one that was really classified as a action horror or whatever it was. But
what did you guys call it? Like gore porn or horror?
Body horror.
Well, body horror, torture porn.
Torture porn. Yeah. That stuff I want nothing to do with.
No, not my thing. Not my thing at all.
Even the stuff like Insidious, like all those like in The Ring and such. Like I remember watching The Ring once and I was like, I'm good on that. And then I don't think I've ever kind of gone back to watch any of those because it's just not.
I just don't like feeling that.
The Ring was so dumb. I hated that movie. I watched it and I was like, when she came out of the TV at the end, I busted out laughing. I was like, okay.
I got to be honest with you. I really enjoyed all the parodies.
Yeah.
All the
Scary Movie.
I haven't watched any of the Scary Movies. But...
I think Scary Movie 4 made fun of The Ring, was better than The Ring.
Right.
So did we show this? Did we show that when have you seen when they do that cosplay with the girl coming out of the TV?
Yeah, it's fantastic. That's what I'm saying.
Amazing.
So good.
That aspect of it, I think, is
amazing.
Good. The movie itself, I could do without, but there were aspects of that movie that I did find pretty lived in my rent free in my head for a while. So. Mostly that bitch in the closet. Fuck that bitch in the closet. Anyways,
I gotta go Google her and like bring her up randomly during the
bitch in the closet.
The bitch in the closet. If I'm even remembering the right movie, I think that's the movie that I'm remembering. Yeah, I believe it's from The Ring. I'm remembering right because there's a few of them that came out that were kind of had the similar vibe at the time. So
they did. Well, The Ring was also a remake of I believe a Korean movie. That came out a few years earlier, and then they remade it in English.
Yeah, as soon as I put in The Ring movie and I started to put closet and girl in closet,
came right up.
First thing for the love. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Like that's terrible. Top 10 scariest scenes. Yeah, and again, it's one of those like. It's just kind of a flash and just the way her head moves and the fact that she's in the closet. Like, I don't know, man, that wasn't, I didn't love that. I'd be good if I never watched that again. The still isn't great. It's the scene. It's not.
That movie just didn't do it for me.
So the very first link that pops up when I put that into Google is a Reddit thread. And it says, so there was a scene in The Ring that's still 18 years later.
Yeah,
keeps me awake at night.
Yeah. Hi.
And it's that scene.
Me.
So there you go. So Stephanie is saying Ju-on. That's the original version, and Ali's saying it's Japanese, not Korean. There you go.
There you go.
but yeah, there was a time where there was a bunch of this style of movie that came out, and they did nothing for me. I thought that was where horror movies really went downhill for me. They used to be fun and a thrill, and there's always. This is gonna sound silly what I'm gonna say here, but again, we've been rewatching the Halloween movies, well, specifically not the last three. Yeah, the last three, and the cinematography in these Halloween movies was amazing. The shots of Michael Myers, the reflections in the window and the reflection in the knife, and the cool lighting effects, and it was, yeah, I love that type of stuff. And me and Jen were sitting there watching the movie, and I shit you not, like while somebody's getting stabbed in the fucking face, we're talking about like, look at how cool that lighting effect is, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, but you're even talking about like when the little chick comes out of the TV and you're laughing your ass off. Do you know how many times I'm laughing my ass off with some of these slasher films too? Like,
oh yeah, but they're meant for that, right?
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Like some of it's objectively hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes they're not always even trying to be hilarious, and it's still fucking.
Well,
hilarious.
that's fair too. Yeah, that's fair too. Tammy Shea is saying Smile was awful. I'm assuming you're talking about Smile 2.
I'm talking about Smile 2.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not.
I haven't seen the first one.
I haven't seen it. I know my kids went to the theater to see it. It just came out in the last week.
Yeah.
Well, they're just cranking out horror movies all the time now because they're so cheap to make, and they seem to do relatively well every time they come out. So you're never a big risk.
When you make a movie on a $1.5 million budget and you only make $20 million, I mean,
it's still $20 million you made.
You made a lot of money there, right?
Yeah. So why wouldn't you keep cranking them out? I always see these budgets for horror movies. It's like, we made it for $10 million. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It only made $50 million of the global box office. We still made $25 million.
Yeah.
Does Jeff watch anything? He keeps saying he doesn't know it. I've said numerous times, so this is just not my genre. So I don't have a lot to add as far as that goes. I never got into horror a lot. I do remember watching, like, obviously I watched like the classics from my generation. I did watch the original Halloweens. I watched the original Nightmare on Elm Street. I watched the original Friday the 13th. And then sort of as like, I did watch most of Saw. Like I got into the Saw franchise, but when I saw how bad they were getting, I'm pretty sure I gave up on that like 5 or 6 Saws in or whatever. Yeah. And then I just kind of like, clearly this is not for me. So I just dropped pretty much the whole thing. I watched the first one and I was like, and I don't think I've watched any of the subsequent ones.
Oh, really? Eh? Oh, wow. I think 2 and 3 were amazing. They were probably better. 3, I think, was my favorite. That was the last one before. Anyway, you know what? It doesn't matter. But yeah, you should give Scream a shot. Scream movies are good.
The silent movie of the first vampire. I thought we were friends, Crystal, and clearly we are not. I was about to bring up my age because I am older than both of these. I'm not a lot older than JS, but I am quite a bit older than Rob. So I mean, we did kind of grow up at different times. So.
Crystal's talking about Nosferatu.
No, I know what she's talking about. I'm aware of what she's talking about. She's making a point of how fucking old I am.
Mm-hmm.
That's you time. Haha, love you. Yeah, shut up. Are we at that point of the podcast? Now we're in 20 minutes in. Let's make fun of
when the audience is starting to take shots at Jeff. It's that time. Guys, thank you so much if you stuck with us to the end. There's more people there now than there were earlier, which is funny because we're just.
Well, they're all done handing out candy.
Everybody's done trick or treating. Right? Yeah, exactly. Everybody's joining, but we are done. I'm gonna get back into my costume and go freak out the teenagers that are still roaming the neighborhood now.
It's time to collect our daddy taxes.
That's right, dad taxes.
Yeah, unfortunately, my kid's not trick or treating. My kid's at school. She's in class. Actually, she should be home in the next few minutes. But yeah. I think that will be it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We love it when you guys stick out with us. We love the interaction in the chat. You know what we would love? If you click that like and subscribe button.
We don't love all the interactions in the chat.
We should have talked about that at the beginning of at the top of the show, and we actually didn't. Guys,
Andre's got us.
Andre's got us. Congrats on 1,000 subs. There you go. Earlier this week, we hit 1,000 subs. Or actually, on the weekend, we hit 1,000 subs on the Geeks & Co YouTube channel. Guys, thank you so much. Our watch hours are through the roof. We've been putting out a bunch of content. Guys, if you are, one of the ones that watches our videos, we love you guys. If you click on and click the like button on our videos, we love you even more if you put a comment. At the end of every video, we tell you, hey, let us know, blah, blah, blah. Or we ask you a question or leave a comment. It really, really helps us out. We'll love you that much more.
We will.
Like we don't already love you.
Not
Oh,
even a little
and
bit.
I don't know if you guys noticed, we got
some dope
brand
ass
new merch.
hats. Have nothing to do with Coca-Cola. We're not sponsored by Coca-Cola.
Brand new
at all, I promise.
merch. Brand new Geeks & Co hats. We got a Geeks & Co Square logo hat coming as well. I didn't have time to put one of those together yet, but they are coming. Hats will be available exclusively for now at Game Expo.
Yes.
Sweet. I will bring cash.
Yep.
Cash money, baby. JS, take us out of here.
Yeah, I think that's going to be it. Yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you stay geeky. Hopefully, we're still around next week. See you later. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Geek Boutique Podcast. Like always, if you prefer to listen to us, you can find us on all major podcast platforms. Now, make sure you don't forget to click that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell to make sure you never miss anything.